Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So the time is now. We are in full prep for BT8. Super excited for this. Today we're going to be covering the new decks. These are specifically brand new decks with a couple of honorable mentions that's like a morphing of old decks into new forms. But we're really just going to focus in on the top new decks are coming out of BT8. Also, don't forget our new memory marker this month is Kokomon. So if you're playing some Cherubimon decks, this is a fantastic memory marker for that. This is Cherubimon's baby form, in case you weren't aware. Super adorable, handmade out of clay by my wife, hand-painted face as well. You can find this on our Etsy store, link in the description below. Also, there you can find all of our previous memory markers that we've had on the channel, as well as some of our Battle Ready Inc. merch. So let's go ahead and just dive into this. So we've got BT8 coming up. So first up, right off the bat, we've got Red. Now, Red by itself here in the red section doesn't actually have a whole lot of self-contained things going on. Now, we do have a couple things like the Sylphimon package here that does have a deck that goes with it, but I wouldn't say it's going to be one of the top decks. Now we will get to this eventually with Sylphimon and Mastemon and things like that, so keep an eye out on this, but it's not one of the decks we're actually going to focus in on. And then jumping into Blue next, by appearance it doesn't look like Blue has a deck either. I guess we'll just have to keep going on from Blue. Don't worry, we'll be back. Next, we're going into Yellow. Again, Yellow doesn't have like a whole self-contained deck going on. Now, Yellow does have some really cool stuff like Rapidmon, which will provide support for older decks that are already established. And Kilomon is a card that will come into play in other decks down the road, but not currently for BT8. Green. So green is where we're going to start our very first brand new deck of the format, and that's going to be for Shivamon here. Shivamon is just a very, very powerful tech against what Japan had as one of their top meta decks in the form of security control during this era. And then because of security control seeing so much play there, Shivamon really started to develop as its own deck. So opponent's turn, while your Digimon are suspended, all of your Digimon are suspended, your opponent can't use option cards. Very, very powerful stuff there. Also, your turn, when this Digimon unsuspends, in the unsuspend phase, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So you just continuously just kind of attack and control your opponent's field, so that way they never really establish a board. Now, things like hybrid decks with lots of tamers can avoid this, but really you just kind of balance out the Shivamon with the Argomon that shuts down tamers, and you just have a super lock on your opponent's field. Absolutely devastating. Locking down their option cards, locking down their tamers, super powerful stuff. And then you just constantly swing over their Digimon, while this card every single turn trashes the top of the security. You get multiple Shivamons out on field. Very powerful lock. So control is a big part of green. It's like their main strategy in most of the different builds, and this is just like really right on the nose of control for green. So definitely excited to see some Shivamon decks. I know some people are very excited for this deck. Now the next one we're going to get into, now this is where the hype begins. So I said we didn't have a red deck, but that's because we have the new duo color Black Wargreymon. Black Wargreymon just being a massive fan favorite Digimon by himself. He is like super edgelord, super awesome, very cool Digimon for sure. And we finally have a serious hardcore like meta contender Black Wargreymon that we can play with. For you that are not familiar, when Digivolving, if there is a red card in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, you may choose your opponent's Digimon. If there is a black card in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, you may choose your opponent's Tamers. Delete any number of chosen cards whose total play cost adds up to 6 or less. So that's just really cool. Just being able to have that multi-target ability keeps it nice and diverse. Being able to delete tamers, very powerful. This card is a great answer to removing hybrids from the meta scene. This is just kind of Bandai's first steps. They do increase the decks, I would say, the text involved in clearing your opponent's use of hybrids, but this is kind of the beginning of it. Hybrids have been really good for too long. We need to put them in check. We're gonna start releasing cards that really make tamers suffer. So great card. And then with duo colors being so prevalent in this set, you'll have tons of different ways to have both colors very easily in the deck. Whether you're playing a pure black or pure red, there's so many duo colors that you can incorporate that you'll still be able to trigger off the wargreymon ability. And then all turns, once per turn, when your opponent's Digimon are deleted, you can unsuspend this Digimon. So basically, you can attack twice. If you throw some piercing underneath him, you can pierce through your opponent's stuff and then unsuspend. Very nice card for sure. So a really neat way to play black moving forward. Now we do have some other support here in this for X-antibody, which we've already established before as a deck, so we won't really go into that one too much. And then here's just another support card here. So for the Black Wargreymon, so Metal Greymon Inheritable, while this Digimon has Dragonkin or Machine in its type, this Digimon can also attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. So just guaranteeing that you're going to get that Black Wargreymon trigger to unsuspend. Now again, you still need to find some way to get piercing in here, but besides that, very solid strategy overall, and just tons of support for it. So it's not like they just threw this in like casually. No, they're very serious. They're like, here's a full Evo line of support for Black Wargreymon, and not just in the black, but also some of these red cards up here. You can also kind of incorporate them if you want to, but just very powerful stuff. And then just with all the Greymon support we've had in the past, this deck is just unbelievably, it's really, really powerful. And then jumping over into purple here, tons of Myotismon support, full on like dedicated Myotismon support, even has a tamer to go with it this set. This is probably going to be in the bottom of my my tier list for this top 5, but I do want to mention it. Myotismon as a like focused in deck, just dedicated Myotismon support here with their new boss monster, 4 Evo cost, 13 play cost. And then on play, if you have 5 or more cards with Myotismon in their name in your trash, delete one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon and trash the top cards of your opponent's security stack. Wow. The top cards are not plural. On play though, 13 play cost to trash a security and then delete a Digimon. That's pretty steep. But then when Digivolving, trash the top 5 cards of your deck. Then if you have a card with Myotismon in its name in your trash, gain 1 memory. So it makes this 4 Evo cost a 3 Evo cost. Nice that there's like versatility. You can play it either which way you want to. 13 play cost, though, is still pretty extreme, I would say. Now, there is other ways to help mitigate this and things like that. And then it also has the nice new tamer here of all turns, when your Digimon with Myotismon in its name is deleted, you can suspend this tamer to gain 1 memory. It's an interesting effect. I wouldn't say it's too crazy. Very reminiscent of, like, Purple Kari. Of, you get multiples of these on field and then suspend them to like pass turn back to you if your opponent deletes your stuff. And then end of opponent's turn, if this tamer is suspended, you can play 1 Mallow Myotismon from your trash without paying its memory cost by deleting this tamer. Now you see that synergy? Yeah, 13 play cost felt a little extreme, right? But how about if you just get to play this guy for free? Trash the top card of security, delete a Digimon on field. Wow, what a powerful card. So super, super awesome synergy going on. Like literally this Yukio is what makes Myotismon like a thing. It's only possible to be a real thing because of this new tamer. Just absolutely like super nutty. But remember, it's if this tamer is suspended. So 1, if your opponent runs Argomon, the level 6 Argomon, and suspends your tamers, that's like a death sentence for them. However, if you got to make sure you trigger this first ability. When your Digimon with Myotismon in its name is deleted, and now it's all turns, so you can crash with Myotismon on your turn, suspend this tamer, opponent's turn goes and then comes back to you, then you can trigger this. So you can like suspend this, on your own during your own turn. You just have to wait for it to come back to you, or end of your opponent's turn rather. So But very, very cool. So that's a couple decks we've got so far, right? So we've got the Myotismon, we got the Black wargreymon, and the Shivamon. We're already up to 3 decks already so fast, but we're at the end of it. There's no more colors, right? Well, that's the thing. We've got the new starter decks. So Mastemon and Imperial come out at the same time as BT8. Wow. Okay, so we've got Imperial as a serious meta contender. This deck is phenomenal. If you've seen plays of this deck, it's nuts. You can literally beat your opponent in 3 turns. Like 3-turn OTK with this deck is not that uncommon. Like as crazy as it is, it's pretty wild. I'm super excited to play this. It's fantastic. So it's all about you get 2 level 4s on field, and then you can go into your Pyldramon here with the new DNA Digivolve. If you're not familiar with this mechanic, it's pretty wild. You can use 2 unsuspended Digimon, suspended, 1 unsuspended, 1 not, but they basically fuse together. The cards overlay. The top card will always be whatever color is on the left here. Keep that in mind. We did get that wrong in one of our other videos, but it didn't matter. It only really matters if there's like DNA or Digivolve mechanics in play. That's when it actually it seriously matters. But yeah, so you can go into this guy for 0 cost, and then you can immediately swing with them. So if you hard play 2 level 4s in 1 turn that have summoning sickness, you can still overlay them and go into this guy, and he does not have summoning sickness. Jogress is crazy. DNA Digivolve is so wild. If you haven't looked up the rules on that, you definitely need to before the set comes out, because it's involved. Okay, there's a lot of stipulations and a lot of things going on. I'm not going to explain them all here, but it's not, I wouldn't say complicated. There's just a lot to it. There's a whole lot of rules that go with it. So yeah, Pyldramon here, then being able to attack twice. So when attacking unsuspended Digimon once per turn, so you can go, you can basically attack with like a jamming XVmon, right, from EX2, and then you can DNA Digivolve into the Pyldramon, swing 2 more times with him, and then you end your turn by going into an Imperialdramon Dragon mode. So when Digivolving, you can play 1 blue and 1 green level 4 or lower Digivolution cards under this Digimon as another Digimon without paying their cost. So yeah, you evo into this guy, and the 2 level 4s that you made, that you used to make the Pyldramon, you just play those out again. And then you can just immediately Jogress or DNA Digivolve them into a second Pyldramon. So depending on how much like memory you have and what your field setup is, I mean, you can just go absolutely ham. And then so Imperialdramon Dragon mode here is also a green, so you can use stuff like Hidden Potential to evo into him for free. Yeah, so, or sorry, Pyldramon here is a green. He's the one that has to be green. But yeah, so you can go to Dragon mode for free and then play out those 2 level 4s, then Jogress them together for that double Pyldramon hit a second time. Yeah, the plays are for real. And that's gonna be our 4th deck that we have on the list here. And then some other just really solid support for Vmon, which, you know, what do we need Vmon support for? I can only wonder, right? Next, we got Mastemon, though. This is a huge fan favorite. This deck did extremely well in JP. Now, there is a caveat to this. This deck did extremely well in JP, but it had the Eismon package at full power. I think that's a very important note, is that that could change things. Well, we don't really know. There's still a whole lot of decks out there that didn't run the Eismon package, but I would say the majority of the topping JP ones were running it. Now, will English players find a way to still make this deck good? Absolutely, they will. Mastemon is a very, very powerful Digimon. Being able to just Jogress from 2 level 5s, with inheritables such as the Gatomon. So this inheritable lets you DNA Digivolve after you've already passed turn. So similar to like a blitz mechanic, right? You pay the memory and pass turn, and then an effect goes off. So then you can immediately DNA Digivolve as your turn is passing. So you can have a level 5 out and then hard play another level 5 for a lot of memory, but then immediately Jagras those two together to make a Mastemon. And also there's a Salamon that has the same effect. So you can have a Gatomon and Salamon. So the consistency is really there. 8 cards in your deck that allow you to do this mechanic instead of only 4. Only 4, that can be a little bit of an issue, but having 8 cards in your deck that give you that inheritable is very, very cool. So be on the lookout for Mastemon. I think this is going to be a great time to get creative with this deck, simply because, like I said, the JP format had Eismon. We won't have Eismon. It's limited to 1. You could still run it, but the consistency just won't be there. So I think having a more dedicated build to Mastemon specifically will be the way to go, instead of like an Eismon package, also running like a Mastemon package on the side. It's going to be like a pure Mastemon focused deck, I think, at this point. So cannot wait to see what people do with this. The creativity is wide open on Mastemon, and that's going to be very awesome. Now, that's the top 5, right? But we got a bonus one. We also have armors, okay? And if you're not familiar with the armors, that's going to be for all of our Vmon evolutions here. So we got Flamedramon, one of those old school fan favorite cards. Digivolves for 2 cost on top of a Vmon. So normally can only Evo on top of red, but Vmon, see how this box is here? This is like a separate from the effect text, right? This is more specifically for dealing with evolutions. So you can Evo this in raising area on top of a Vmon for 2 cost, right? It's not an effect that lets you do this. This is just an alternate evolution cost. That's why it's in this different box like this. So keep that in mind when dealing with this. It's not an effect. So armor release is very powerful. When the Digimon would get deleted, you can just remove the level 4 and trash it, and then keep your Vmon underneath it. So you play a full deck of Vmons, a full rookie package of Vmons, and then a bunch of these armors. And so then you can just continuously loop these cards, essentially. So one of my favorite plays is jamming Vmon. You promote up a jamming Vmon, swing at security, he hits a Digimon, survives. Then you Digivolve into one of your armors here. So we use Flamedramon as an example. So for 2 Evo costs, you go into a Flamedramon. And then with the new Duo Tamer here to support armors, your turn, when your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon that has 2 or more colors, you may suspend this Tamer to unsuspend that Digimon. How awesome is that? So you can suspend this and then immediately attack again with that armor. So then that armor goes into security. Say the armor dies, it crashes into security, the armor releases, you got your jamming Vmon back on field. And then say you've got another Duo Tamer, you can do that same play again. Now there's also the Magnadramon here. So Digivolve on a Vmon for 3 costs, and then when Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon. So again, you can go Magnadramon on top of that suspended jamming Vmon, and then unsuspend, attack again if you want to. And you can just potentially just attack over and over and over, depending on how much memory you have, depending on how many Duo Tamers you have, how many Magnamons you have in hand. Like, there's tons of different ways to go about it. Magnamon, I'm so psyched for this card. This is like my childhood fan favorite Digimon right here. It was like Wargreymon at first, but then it became Magnamon. I absolutely love Magnamon. His design is so cool. Really, really awesome Digimon. And then they have a third in the form of Raidramon. I think it's confirmed that it's going to be Lydramon now instead of Raidramon. But another super, super awesome addition. Big time fan favorites here. All the Vmon armors are super awesome. So very powerful deck. It's all about rushing, going into these level 4s continuously over and over, and it's literally just that. It's just a level 4 rush deck. So that's our new decks. Now I do want to just throw in a couple that we kind of glossed over a little bit, and that's going to be the X-antibody support here. So we have a ton of Alphamon specific support going on. It is X-antibody, but at the same time, it's also focused in on Alphamon. like the Duramon, things like that, they can still be used in here, depending on which X-antibody deck you want to go with. They can merge together, or you can play them separately, depending on how you want to go. So just a lot of fantastic support for X-antibody, starting or continuing here. We had a lot last set, and then we've got more this set, and then BT9 is just pure X-antibody, every color. We're all doing it. So it starts out with black, and then black gets more X-antibody support in this set, and then next set, like, every color gets X-antibody support. So very cool stuff here. So really excited for this. I want to play this deck so bad. An Alphamon focused X-antibody deck. I just need to get more Alphamons. I need to get that alt-art Alphamon like really bad, but he's so expensive. Now going back to purple here, we get Ophanimon fall down mode. I cannot just leave her out to dry here. A lot of people are going to hate this deck though. Security control, yellow hybrid purple, or yellow purple hybrid, whatever you want to call it. Ophanimon. You've got Rapidmon. The new security control deck is terrifying. It's so much board control, recovery, all that shenanigans back again. You can run defeat. Zort defeat again, because this is a purple level 6, so even if you hard draw the defeat, it's not dead. You can just evo it right on top of the Ophanimon. Man, I don't even know what to tell you. This is so nuts. This is in JP, this was the top tier deck. I don't know what it'll be this time around, but it's gonna be scary. I can tell you that much. It's going to be scary. Also, Rosin Fury mode here. To go with the deck I kind of mentioned earlier, this is a Sylphimon Rosinmon deck. So Rosin Fury mode, going with the previous Rosinmon. Very, very interested. I'm definitely excited to see where this goes. So Sylphimon, another Jogger's target, 2 level 4s. When digivolving, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 5,000 DP for the turn. Then if this Digimon DNA digivolves, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP or less. So you see some synergies here. It's all about like DP reduction, which yellow really likes to do. And then there's like multiple stacking effects like that. The Rosinmon's doing it. The Fury mode just like bringing it up to a whole nother level. There's a lot of synergy going on. So excited to see what people do with this. I know I'll be testing it at some point, so stay tuned for a deck profile on this. It'll be after I cover like the major ones. But yeah, Rosinmon getting some support through alternate means that it probably didn't originally plan for, that actually just really pops off together. Now, if I missed any decks, please put it in the comments section below. I'm compiling a list of deck profiles to make, so if you want me to cover a deck that I didn't talk about here, definitely put it in the comments section so that way I can make sure to add it to the list.